A warm welcome and a great morning to all my brilliant stars of Sri Gokulam Public School. This is Nida Miss, your English faculty, and we are getting into a wonderful English online class. So how are you, my dear children? I hope that all of you are safe and sound at your homes and you are also studying very well, coping up with the classes and doing good in your life. So my dear children, let us begin today's class. Today we are going to start a new lesson from your textbook Moments. The name of the lesson is Weathering the Storm in Irsama. Just as the title suggests, we are going to discuss about a storm which has affected a coastal region in Orissa in the year 1999. We remember that was the year when most parts of India, especially the northern plains of India, had affected and was almost destroyed and devastated with a huge storm. Orissa was also greatly damaged with this storm. So here, a small coastal area, that is Irsama, how that people in that coastal region had survived the storm and overcome the difficulties and the devastation of the storm is the content of our lesson. Before we move into the difficulties faced by the people in Irsama, or rather in Orissa, let us also remember the floods that affected Kerala 2 years before. Last year also we were affected with a flood, and the previous year was the year when we were greatly shocked by a huge flood which almost got Kerala underwater. The incessant rains, and we had to leave our homes to safer places to protect ourselves. We had lost property, we had lost pets, we had lost food, clothing, almost everything. There were people who lost even their homes. And yet, it was the year that taught the world, rather, how Keralites were able to stand together and overcome the great flood. It showed unity amongst us. And apart from that, it showed some leadership qualities from our government officials, some real role model making kind of leadership qualities we had seen from our government officials. More than that, it was about how skilled we people were in tackling such a kind of a disastrous situation. While remembering all these things and saluting to the great heroes of Kerala, let us begin today's class. The story, however, is of an imaginary character, Prashant, and how he had showed some qualities to overcome this storm that they had faced in Irsama. But the character Prashant is a representative of the youth, the real people who had actually fought and overcome the situation. Now here it says that Prashant was a native of the village in the coastal state of Odisha, and on October 27, 1999, he made a visit to his friend in Irsama, and he was visiting this place after 7 years, that is after his mother's death. And that evening what happened was a great storm gathered, and there was a furious wind and non-stop rain was there. Trees were uprooted, and like I said, it's a coastal region, so most of the people were living in huts. So even the huts were taken away with that strong winds. People were screaming and shouting and running for their lives. Prashant, however, was at more of a safer place because he was living with his friend who was living in a concrete house. Okay, Pakka house they call it. Pakka house means a concrete built house. So most of the people who were living in huts had lost their homes in the wind. Now, but there also he was there with the neck deep water in the friend's house. The wind was blowing at a speed of 350 kilometers per hour. The entire people in that village, including his friend's family, was terrorized by the kind of storm they were seeing, and trees had fallen onto their house. It was damaging the roofs and the walls of the building. The rain and the wind continued for the next 1.5 days, and after that the wind had slowed down. Now, to escape this situation or to find a better shelter, what Prashant did was that, along with his friend's family, they had moved on to the roof of the house and they had taken shelter over there. Once the wind had slowed down and the super cyclone had come down, Prashant decided to move out from their safe place or their shelter and see the destruction caused by this cyclone. Whatever he saw on that day was not something very pleasing. Definitely, the houses were all destroyed. Trees had fallen down. There were many dead bodies of animals. Carcasses, this means dead bodies of animals. Even human beings, human corpses also could be seen. And there was a complete destruction in that area. They were unable to move out. Food was not available. We know the situation whenever there is a flood or a storm. Food is very limited. Food is not available. However, this family had managed to survive because 2 coconut trees had fallen onto the roof of their house, and they was consuming or they were eating the tender coconuts from the tree, and that helped the family to survive the starvation for many days that followed. Again, Prashant waited at the rooftop with his friend's family. It was very cold. Wherever he looked, he could see only muddy water. The water level has not gone down, so there was a flood and it was muddy water everywhere. They were still staying at the rooftop, but Prashant's worries now grew. He was more worried about his family. He could see that many people had died in this cyclone, and he worried if he had lost his family also. These thoughts was really torturing him and causing a great depression for him, that after 2 days he decided that he cannot wait anymore and he needs to go out and find whether his family is safe or not. So with such a thought in his mind, or such a need in his mind, he decided to go out and seek for his family. His friend's family had pleaded him to stay at that house, but he could not carry this worried thoughts with him. He was very, very tensed about his family. He wanted to make sure that they are safe. So what he did is that he equipped himself with a long sturdy stick and he walked back to his village. So since it was covered with flood waters, he needed something to hold on to move in that floody water. So he was moving, and he says that it was a journey that he will never ever forget in his life. On his way back, the water was his waist deep. It's up to his waist the water was there, and he was almost like swimming in that flood water. And while he was going, he could see that at many points there were dead bodies floating in that water, and it was a very sad scene to see. After he moved for some time, he also notices that many other people were also trying to go back to their villages with the same purpose, that is to find out their family is safe or not. So he saw his uncle's friends while he was going back. So together they joined as a group. So moving in a group is more safer. So if you need any help in a group, you get more help and support. So they decided to move as a group, and they went along. And when he reached his village, he saw that there was not a single house in that village. All the houses were destroyed in his village. At this point, Prashant, who is only an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old boy, he started to weep out loudly. He thought that his family had died in this storm, so he started to cry out loudly. So his village name is Kalikuda. So he had reached his village, and this was the scene that he saw. Then he is informed that a lot of people from this village are moved to a camp which is set up by the Red Cross Society. Red Cross is a humanitarian organization. So they had come out and tried to save the people from the village from this flood. So they had set up a camp, and the people are moved to that camp. So then he goes into the camp and he wants to find out whether his family is also over there. So when he saw in that crowd, he saw that his mother's mother was there. Maternal grandmother means his mother's mother was there. So she was very weak with hunger. Of course, we know that in the camp and all, food was not so available. And they are also living in a coastal area. So food was not much available. They had to get it from the relief organizations and all. So she was weak with hunger, and on seeing Prashant, she comes running towards him, and they both hug each other and cry for some time. And he also feels relieved that he could see his grandmother. Then finally, with the help of his grandmother, he also finds out his other family members. Now, what he thought as dead, or he thought that his family is dead, now he was feeling very safe and happy and relieved, because none of his family members had died. Only thing is that they were having difficulties in surviving in the camp, but all of them were very alive. So with that relief, finally Prashant is able to let out his breath. Then he is now back with his family, and he is also staying in the camp. What is the next thing to be done? He notices that in the camp there are many people going through a lot of difficulties, many people who have lost their families, many people who are unable to move around, walk, pregnant ladies are there, children are there, and nowhere food is available. So the whole situation is very depressing kind of a situation, and there is something need to be done. What is it that Prashant decides to do? We will get to know more about that in our next class. So this is all for today. We are concluding today's class. You have to read your textbook. Reading your textbook is very important. So read your textbook and be thorough with the contents. Learn your notes. I have given a test paper. I want all of you to attempt the test paper. Please do not copy the answers from the internet. This is not to check your intelligence or your smartness over here. This is only to make sure that you have understood what I am teaching in the class. So even if there is grammatical mistakes or errors, please write your own answers. Do not copy from anyone, or do not copy from internet especially. So it's time for me to bid farewell. I hope you all stay safe and be happy in your life. Till we meet again, take care and have a wonderful day. Thank you.